Welcome to the Flowering Daydream podcast, where daydreams become reality. I'm your host, Charlene Windus, and today I want to talk about spiritual awakening, ethics, embodiment, and escapism. And some of these things are very interconnected or can be interconnected. And I think there's some really important things, especially if you're just starting out in intuitive development or spiritual awakening, to really pay attention to and to be anchored and grounded in as you're going through this really expansive journey. We're going to touch on some of that today. But before we get into the episode, I wanted to share with you an experience that I had when I took my family to Cozumel, Mexico, which is one of our most favorite places on this planet. It's this beautiful, sacred place, and it means a lot to our family. It was the first place that my uncle, who's now passed away, took me on vacation, my aunt and uncle, when I was 19. It was my very first vacation ever. And they took me to Cozumel, Mexico. They were divers and they loved the people in the place so much that they shared it with me. And then I went back several years later and I got engaged on Playa Bonita in Cozumel, Mexico. It just has such a special place in my heart. And I got to go back a couple more times, but it had been 17 years since we had visited. And now we have kids and we wanted to take them to the beach where we got engaged and also just share the beautiful waters and the beautiful people and just the yummy food, just everything about Cozumel, Mexico with our kids. So we were able to take them this year and we did have a good trip and the kids really enjoyed it, but I did have a hard time, really thoroughly enjoying myself, because when we went to go visit Playa Bonita, where we had gotten engaged, the beach had been destroyed by a hurricane, but also there was so much trash and garbage on that side of the island, mostly plastics coming from the ocean. And it was really disheartening. And when we went home, I just had this really, this hole in my heart kind of a feeling. And so I got home and I started doing a bunch of research on how we could get involved in either reducing plastics or cleaning plastics from the ocean or, something else that we could do other than what we already were doing just as our individual family unit. And I found this company called 4Ocean, and it was a couple of surfers who went to Bali and were inundated by the trash in the oceans there. And they came back and they started this company, and their company cleans the ocean. So they have these crews, all over the place, Guatemala and Haiti and outside of Florida. They have several locations where they have boats and crews, and they go out and they clean the ocean. They also do projects. And one of those projects that they're doing right now is they're cleaning up a reef outside of Florida there, where they had put 2 million tires in the ocean to make a fake reef, and the salt corroded the adhesive that was holding the tires onto this fake reef. And so the tires are now like plummeting out and hitting the reef and damaging the reef. So they're in the process of removing all of those tires right now. So they're doing some really amazing work. They also have a shop where they take the plastic, glass, things that they collect out of the ocean, and then they make products out of them so that they reuse the materials that they find. So, for example, they have a bracelet in their shop, and for every bracelet that you purchase, it affords their company to remove 1 pound of trash from the ocean. And they have water bottles and sweatshirts and a bunch of other stuff. So I decided to raise more awareness and to get a little bit more involved, that I liked this company. I liked what they were doing and I liked the concept, and they're storing all of this extra plastic and stuff for future innovative things where they can repurpose it in their warehouses and things like that. But I decided to become a brand ambassador for them to help raise awareness. So all that really means is that you get 20% off in their shop if you use my code. And I'm just going to be making some posts periodically on social media about ocean cleanup, about their company, and just about ways that we can take better care of the earth. So we really can make a difference. Each person can make a difference based on how they're moving in the world and how they're taking care of this planet. And this is the only home that we have. So if you can't buy something in the shop, or you can't donate money to a cause that you know is making a big impact, you can do other stuff. Like we take a trash bag with us sometimes when we go on our walks and hikes, and we pick up trash and recycle it and put it in the garbage, because these are places and spaces that we enjoy, and we're all a part of the same earth. It's all of our space to clean up. And I remember on the first walk that we did, my kids said, why are we picking up other people's litter? And I said, well, it's our job to clean up the earth. It doesn't matter whose garbage this is. It matters that we pick it up. This is our space, and it's a sacred space, and the earth has a spirit, and we need to care for her, we need to care for our environment. So I was able to instill that in them, and really at a really young age. But we try to do our best not to buy plastic, but it's almost impossible for some of the things that you need. So we repurpose, we reuse, we reduce as much as we can, and we try to find other options when possible. And so just, you vote with your dollar with these companies. So wherever you spend your money is where more of this stuff gets produced, right? So just trying to make those decisions. Like one thing I started doing was bringing in my silverware to work every day and something to put my food in, so that I'm not taking like plastic cutlery, or if I want to go get something to go, then I can have them put it in my stuff, things like that, like reusable cups from home. So I try not to use disposable. Sometimes it happens, but you're just trying to make conscious decisions about the way that you're moving in the world, so that we can reduce our impact, we can reduce the trash, we can take better care of the oceans, and future generations have a clean environment, clean water, a clean place to live. So check out the company 4Ocean, go see what they're doing. It's really awesome. If you want to support them by purchasing something in their shop, you can go to their website. I think it's 4ocean.com. I'll put it in the show notes. And then you can get 20% off if you use my code, which it's all caps. It's Charlene Windus 20 with an asterisk at the end. Help out in any way that you can, whether it's just your day-to-day impact, whether it's with your dollar or with your voice, or, any way that you can to help take better care of Mama Earth. So this episode today is inspired by something that I have continued to witness in my own work, students and clients, but also in the spiritual and intuitive development community as a whole. And I think it's really important that we talk about some of these things and bring this awareness in, especially if you're a newbie, especially if you're just starting out and you're a baby in the spiritual development, because you're just gaining your legs and your balance in this vast realm of infinite wisdom, energy, knowledge, and shared experiences. There's no governing by any union, academic requirements, government, or anything else, really. This is a free area to explore and learn and grow and find teachers and mentors and healers and readers and all of that. And so I think when we're just starting out, we're so excited, we're ready. And when you go to someone who has experience in doing a card reading or a clairvoyant reading or an energy healing, you're expecting them to be certified or be skilled or know what they're doing, right? That's why you're paying them or you're going to see them. And it's good to go in with an open mind and an open heart and be ready for that spiritual opportunity of expansion and growth. But at the same time, I think it's really important that you use discernment and that you trust your own intuitive capabilities and abilities, your gut instincts, in your internal compass and radar, and work with this information that you receive in these healings and readings as a guiding light or an illumination or kind of an unfolding gift or blessing. Just allowing it to kind of roll into your energy field and see how it sits and where it resonates. And not everything will, I think that's really important. It's like, not everything will resonate. And as a clairvoyant myself, intuitive interpretation is still interpretation. I get all this information coming in through visions, through audio, through knowing, through feeling, and it's still up to me to bring that forward. And I set those intentions in those containers when I'm doing the work for the highest good. And, I always check in before I bring that information forward, but we're still human and we still are interpreting it to the person that we're bringing that information to. So I'm personally really cautious and careful with giving black and white information. I don't give yes, no responses, and I'm really careful with future information. And I think this is really important because I really do see a lot of clients and students come in where they immediately just kind of give up their personal power or their personal sovereignty. And they're not even really conscious of what they're doing, waiting for you to tell them what to do, or they value what you say so much, which some of that can be really helpful, but you still have your own radar, your own internal compass, and your own ability to go, you know what, that does resonate, that doesn't resonate. I'm going to take the first part, but maybe not the last part. And you can figure all this out after your sessions, but really just paying attention to that and not allowing a reading or a session to kind of dictate or run your life in a way, if that makes sense. And I'll give you like an example of what I'm talking about. Like this was a long time ago, but I did a card reading for someone and I did a pathway reading. So it's like you have a decision to make, and here's if you go this way, here's if you go this way, and here's the unknown way. And you kind of look at what all of that illuminates and what that brings up. And generally, you'll get a pretty good idea of like, okay, this is the pathway with the most growth opportunities and the most challenges. This is the pathway that looks pretty smooth, and this is the pathway that looks like not really a lot's going on, or something like that. So the person receiving the reading can then go, okay, then my gut feeling is right. I think I'm going to go with this pathway and kind of see how it goes out. But you're still, as a reader, not saying, oh yeah, definitely do this or don't do this, or this is what's going to happen or things like that, because we have free will. And so even if you get psychic information or a clairvoyant reading and like, hey, this is how things are going to go down, the minute you leave the reading, there are so many factors that can come into play that can change the outcome of what's happening. So many free will factors of players that can come in and sort of change the course of what's going on. And then whatever the outcome of the reading is no longer entirely accurate. This is all supposed to be here for us to find a place to spiritually anchor, to get guidance, to get confirmation, affirmation, illumination, growth, expansion, all these wonderful, beautiful blessings and gifts. But it's not meant to be the only thing that you live your life by. Or, if you're getting a reading or you're having a session and someone says to you, don't do this or do this, that's not really what our job is to be saying or to be doing. We're really there to hold space for the student or client or person receiving the service to be able to be empowered and to be able to make their own decisions based on that empowerment and that guidance and that illumination. So we're there to support you. We're there to help facilitate that experience for you. And if it goes outside of that, where it's dictating or directing or black and white, like do this, don't do this, I would use your discernment and I would really think about that and not give up your personal power, not give up your own sovereignty over your life. Another experience that can kind of highlight this is very, very early on, I had a card reading myself from somebody that I had followed for a while and respected. And it was a good reading. It was like a forecast reading. So it was a 12-month reading overall. But one of the months in the reading was the death card in the tarot. And at the time, I didn't know much about tarot or readings. My first immediate thought was someone's going to die, that month. That was the first thought I had. And then I was like, oh, that's not what that card means. I didn't know that until later. And the death card can mean the death of a cycle or a pattern, something about yourself sort of fading out so something new can come in. It's not scary necessarily, or, oh my God, someone's going to die. And so I waited 4 or 5 months where I sat in fear. And I sat in anxiety and I sat waiting to see who was going to die. I was contemplating who was going to die. And this wasn't all the responsibility of, the reader. This was obviously what I interpreted. But she also didn't really explain that that's not a negative card necessarily, right? Or it's not a someone's going to die kind of a thing. So when you're first starting out, you don't know these things. You don't even think to ask these things. And then that month came along and our whole house got really sick. We all got a really bad virus. It wasn't exciting or fun. But afterwards, I had a lot of clarity on something that I had been thinking about for a long time. So it was like, it wasn't death. It was just a thing that came in that shifted us and I was able to see more clearly. And so that's what I mean about getting a reading or being the one giving a reading. This is really important work, really sacred work. And we can't cover all the bases all the time here about perception or how things will be received. But what you can do as the recipient going in is you can look for spiritual ethics. You can make sure that you're following the spiritual ethics, whether your reader is or energy healer is or not. And those spiritual ethics are to stay in your power, to use discernment, and to recognize what your intuitive capabilities are. You may not be strong in them yet, but you have them and they're very potent. And the idea is that you leave these readings and these sessions and you feel more empowered, and you leave whatever doesn't resonate and still validate the things that do. Doesn't make the session any less credible or potent if some part of the session resonates and some part of it doesn't. So I think if you're just starting out, what I really want to get across is that you should feel empowered and to stay in your power, even when you're going to visit people who have more skills or experience or, wisdom in a particular area than you. That's really important. That's number one. Number two, something else that I also witness a lot is spiritual escapism. So this is somebody fairly new, just starting out, or maybe they're a little bit further into their journey and they're just finding all these really incredible teachers and healers out there that many of us have also found and really valued and had a lot of growth and expansion from. But what can happen is once you figure out in this spiritual awakening process how to get into the ethers, get into a trance state, get into alternate realities, get into the spiritual realm. Once you figure out how to go to these places in your mind and in your body, it feels really good. It feels like you're on drugs. In fact, I remember I've had several clients over the years that have using drugs and things to escape feelings. And when they find out that you can kind of escape essentially by going to these alternate realities or going into these altered states, things like that spiritually, it's the same feeling, but without the drugs. And what can happen is we can get addicted to that too, or we can also just escape. And I did this, and I did this for many years, and I didn't know I was doing that. I wasn't conscious that I was escaping. But what happens is if things in your body are hard or challenging, or there's grief and anger and sadness, all part of the spectrum that we all experience to varying degrees, there's trauma, it can be really uncomfortable and feel very unsafe in our bodies. And when we're able to escape that without drugs, without substances, but we do it with spirituality, it feels amazing. And so I don't know how many years it was that I was doing that, but I was basically not embodied. And so this is what embodiment is. So you have to figure out how to be able to work with these practices in ritual, in safe containers, in prayer, in ceremony, and things like that with purpose and with intention, rather than just kind of like doing this all day, every day to escape reality, your current reality, or to escape your body. And so when I figured that out, I was kind of mind blown, like, oh, wow, I've been out in the ethers, or I've been in different parts of the universe and not in my body. Your body is susceptible to energy and to attachments and to all kinds of other things. And so if we're not fully in our body when we do these journeys or trance states or meditations or alternate reality experiences spiritually, we're not embodied. We're not actually fully experiencing it. And as a spirit, as a soul, we get to expand infinitely. We can go anywhere, and we can do that even while we're in a body. And so that's why it makes it challenging. Once you figure out how to do this and know that it feels really good, and then you don't feel all these negative things, and that you can go into this like bliss state, it can be really easy to just stay there and to escape from, to bypass essentially what's really going on in the body. And so I think this is another really important thing to talk about when we're brand new. It's not the fun thing to talk about, to say, hey, you got to come back down out of the cloud. Get back in your body. It's like, no, I don't want to, but it's really where the deep, deep healing and deep growth and deep connection is. And so then you go on this journey of going, okay, well, I'm spiritually awakened. I figured this out. How do I make my body more safe and feel better so that I can be in my body? And then this new journey starts. And so it's this ever unfolding experience that just kind of never ends. There's no final destination. It's just a constant unfolding journey that you can go through at your own pace, what works for you at a pace that works for you and in a way that feels good for you. Just be careful of that spiritual escapism or that bypassing, because when we're not embodied, we can have physical problems, not just energetic attachments and things that can take up space when we're not fully embodied, but we'll begin to have over time physical ramifications and outcomes of not being embodied. So our body will yell at us. Our body will sound alarms. Our body will say, hey, you're not in here. You're not present. You're not dealing with the things, emotions, and feelings that are in here. And nobody's in here with me. So then the body will start reacting to you physically. So it's hard. It's not going to be easy. It's not the easiest thing to be a human, a soul having a human experience. But when you're spiritually attuned and awakened, it's a lifelong journey. And you really have to find presence and peace and joy and be able to lean into both. So it's about being with your challenges and being excited, being with your joy and peace, and being with your grief and pain. It's about being able to coexist in this duality together in your body as one. And that's tough. It's not going to be easy, but I want to promote not to escape, not to bypass, and to really find a way to coexist in your body so that you take up your body. That's embodiment. And that's being fully in your power too. So to be fully in your power, you have to be able to accept all parts of yourself, all aspects of you, and to be able to bring that spirituality in, to bring in healing and to bring in space, expansiveness within your body to be able to cope and heal and deal with it without jetting and leaving and running all over the universe and going to these alternate realities without purpose and intention. And then I want to end on all of that with the blessings and the gifts and the healing that can come out of session work, out of working with people who dedicate their life to this work, who are the facilitators and the healers and the bringers of light and the ones that are holding space for others to discover their own spirituality, their own intuitive abilities, and their own personal empowerment. This is powerful work. This is sacred work. And if you have the opportunity to be able to work with someone in this way, it can be profound. It can change your life. It can have a domino and ripple effect on you and your family, your community, even the land that you live on. It's really powerful and amazing work. But stay in your power, use discernment, recognize your own intuitive abilities, and try to be embodied and to accept all aspects of yourself and to bring that spiritual work in to your body, bring it down to earth and into your body in a practical and structured way, in a way that works for you so that you can bring that healing and expansiveness into yourself. So I pulled a reading on how we can support ourselves in being more embodied. How can we go through this spiritual intuitive process in an embodied way? And I got some really great cards. First card I pulled was from this really beautiful deck. I'm obsessed with the artwork here by Denise Lynn called the Sacred Forest Oracle. And we pulled the card Spirit Guardian of the Spring. This card talks a lot about not hesitating, taking action. Don't hesitate if you're afraid, and face your fears and do it anyway. There's times to pull back and think before action, but this isn't one of those times when we're talking about embodiment and self-empowerment. Forge forward with courage and certainty. Again, being in your power. New beginnings await. You might experience chaos or turmoil, but that's all part of this exciting time of activation. Don't allow the upheaval to disrupt your forward trajectory. Be courageous and forthright, make decisions swiftly and with confidence, and act on them with steely resolve. In ancient times, people employed springtime ceremonies to clear out the old and invite the new. Spring was also seen as a time of new life, seeds sprouting, eggs hatching, animals giving birth, and new beginnings. Spring also refers to hope, renewal, growth, youth, and love. And the ceremonies were done to honor these transitions in life. So this card is telling us to get ready. Big changes are ahead when you do embodiment. Things have been incubating that are going to come to life. Profound transformation happens when we're embodied. We're going to have to take risks. We're going to have to keep going, and we're going to have to prepare for the upheaval and the fluctuations that happens with this, and also look forward to the renewal and the end result being glorious. So I love that. I love being able to work with cards to just get more affirmation and confirmation about, what we're talking about. And then I pulled a card from Moonology by Yasmin Bolin. We got the Your Dreams Need a Practical Plan, the full moon in Taurus. So again, I was asking about embodiment. How do we support ourselves in being embodied? And this card talks about weaving a bit of magic, like needing magic and also needing practicality, and sometimes needing to find the combination of the two. So it's not one or the other. It's being able to coexist with both the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, and the physical, and being able to bring them all into form. It's not an easy task. It's a constant sort of dance that we do between the lines of balance. And if we can just surrender to that flow and be in that dance, it's a little bit easier. And this talks about working with the law of attraction for manifesting and imagining it and expecting what you want in your life, but also needing to balance that with taking down to earth steps towards your goals, taking real practical action. So it's not about wishing on the moon and hoping for the best. It's about making something like a list of bullet points on how to achieve your dreams. Like, for example, you don't chase money, you chase the dream. And so this is a card just kind of affirming and confirming the bigger picture, just that essence that we carry, that desire, but also combined with practical action to be able to get the outcomes that we need. And then what I thought was really interesting is that I pulled another card from the Affirmator deck, the Love and Relationships Affirmator deck, and I got the card Support. It says, I look at the vast network of support in my life and I'm reminded of what a superpower it gives me. And it's just an amazing card asking about embodiment, that we need support. When we're going through embodiment, we need a community. We need whatever we can have: therapy, mentorship, friends, family, online, in person, whatever these communities, spiritual community, we need support to go through embodiment. And it says, I look at the vast network of support in my life and I'm reminded of what a superpower it gives me. At any moment, I can call in an army of top-notch people who want the best for me. And we're on this journey of the physical and the spiritual. We need whatever we can be a part of us. We need that support. And we also need that spiritual support. So finding a place where we can spiritually anchor that feels really good to us. It's not easy to live an awakened life where we're living in that way all the time. It's challenging, but it's also really rewarding too. And there's a lot of growth and healing involved in that process. And then the last card I pulled was the Heart from the Woman Runes deck by Molly Reamer. I love this deck. It's just absolutely beautiful. Just ending with the heart, the rune of love and passion, and resting and knowing that you're loved and that you're held in love and that you're supported and grounded in love, and to be able to draw it up and draw it in and breathe easy. You need not do anything necessarily. When you draw this rune, take a moment to acknowledge how often you act from a place of deep love. How underneath the surface of hurry, frustration, and worry, there's a deep wellspring of love that drives you. And in the next moment, extend your awareness, your grace and compassion to recognize how often those around you also act from deep love. Love is the ground of being. Love is the field of being. This love underlies your living and your interactions. Trust it, know it, be it. It is inexhaustible and it sustains you. Heart-centered breathing, step forward with courage, resilience, ease, self-acceptance. This is also about love of life, which is in front of you, unfolding every day. This is real. Don't argue with reality. The love rune also reminds you to take a turn to receive, to be nurtured, to draw in the love of those around you, to share passion, to remember to laugh, and to receive and give. Both capacities are boundless. To walk in love, and love will continue to rise up and greet you. I thought that was just kind of a beautiful ending to the reading, is to be in that heart-centered space and to approach everything from that heart-centered space. When you're so expanded, you're up high in your crown, your head, take an elevator, put all of that expansiveness in an elevator in your head, in your mind, and bring that elevator down to your heart, and then open the door. And then make your decisions from that point. Gather your energy, bring it into heart space, and then make your decisions. Then move forward in your day. Then move forward in your life, because that helps you get into the heart with a visualization and a practical tool to be able to grab all that expansiveness. Because that's what happens. Our upper area of our energy field, when we're spiritually expanding, can go really far out. And then when it does that, it's like a net. It's picking up all this energy that's not even ours, but it's also taking in universal energy. And so to be able to filter that and to be able to bring it into a practical way, into a heart-centered way, and into an embodied way, you can pull it all into the elevator and then pull it down to your heart and give that exercise a try and see how that works for you. But there's a million ways to do this. And so it's about going on this journey and allowing mistakes and allowing expansion with an open mind and an open heart, but also with discernment, with recognizing your own abilities intuitively, and staying in that personal power throughout that journey. Thank you for listening to the Flowering Daydream podcast, where daydreams become reality. I'm your host, Charlene Windus, and you can find me on my website at charlenewindus.com, on Udemy, where I have intuitive development classes online, and also on Insight Timer, where I have some guided meditations. Please remember to rate and review the podcast, and don't forget to check out the company 4Ocean and use the code CharleneWindus20 with an asterisk for 20% off at checkout.